In a controversial move, a conservative lawmaker, Elvira Savino in Italy, proposed that Italian parents who attempt to raise their children on a vegan diet, or those who impose a vegan diet upon their children, be penalized with jail time. Parents could spend as much as 1 year behind bars, and if children die as a result of a deficiency, which is deemed as a result of the vegan diet they were following, the parents could spend as much as 6 years behind bars. This is a very controversial statement or proposal by the conservative lawmaker, and I think it exhibits a considerable amount of ignorance. Something very interesting is that the country is also struggling with a childhood obesity problem at this point, with as many as 30% of children in Italy being overweight. And I think this is quite a paradox in that a vegan diet is a very effective way in which one can attain a healthy body weight and maintain that as well. And studies have shown that vegans are the only group on average in America, so not in Italy. The study that I'm referring to was not conducted in Italy, but the only dietary group that has an average BMI in the normal range, so the only group which is not seen as overweight using the BMI metric, is the vegan dietary group. All the other dietary groups, vegetarian, omnivore, flexitarian, they were all overweight on average in the study that I'm referring to. So this really is quite a paradox in that the one diet that could help alleviate the childhood obesity epidemic in Italy, which is really increasing, and it's becoming a big problem, and signs, indications show that it will only be increasing in the future. So that the only diet that could really facilitate the reversal of the burgeoning childhood obesity epidemic in Italy is now going to become a crime. So parents who try to use such an effective diet, such an ineffective way of eating, in that it really promotes a healthy BMI, those parents could face time behind jail. And this whole controversy is fresh on the heels of a few high-profile court cases in which children apparently had deficiencies as a result of following a plant-based or vegan diet. And so it really is a bit of a mess, and I think politics tends to inflate things beyond where they should go, and I'm not so sure that the overlap of politics and nutritional science is a good one. I think the politics should be kept away from the science, but that's not currently what is happening, and I don't foresee that happening in the future either. But to address the concerns of malnourishment and stunted growth as a result of a vegan diet during childhood, I want you to consult the PCRM website. PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I think it's an American-based organization, but they tend to have a whole lot of references and useful links to studies, and also a whole lot of articles which are very informative, all viewed from a vegan or vegetarian light. So this particular article that I'm referring to suggests that a vegan diet can easily be used during childhood, directly from birth in fact, and as it has all the elements required for healthy growth. some observations, noteworthy observations in the article. It states that children following a vegan diet tend to grow more slowly, and the same is true for children reared on breast milk as opposed to cow's milk. I can take a few guesses at why this is. So you wouldn't be consuming the same level of exogenous hormones. So that is one guess, but let's not leave the guessing. Let's not leave this to guessing. And they also note in the article that girls will reach puberty later if they follow a vegan or vegetarian diet, and they also give quite a few tips in terms of important nutrients and things to be careful of if you are rearing your child on a vegan or vegetarian diet. And one interesting bit of content in the article, they note that researchers studied a group of vegetarian children, and that the average IQ of these children was above the normal IQ of children, or the mean. And so that suggests that everything that is required for brain development in children and adults as well, it can be attained from a vegetarian or vegan diet. So that is just one observation which can be used to allay any concerns of brain development in your child if you are considering or currently are rearing your child on a vegan or vegetarian diet. Another thing I'd like to make clear is that the article notes that the end height and weight, or the end height of people reared on a plant-based or vegan diet is comparable to their meat-eating counterparts. So while their growth may be slower or more gradual initially, they reach their full capacity in terms of size, or at least comparable or the same size as their meat-eating counterparts. So that would suggest that it's very easy to avoid stunting one's growth on a vegan or vegetarian diet if one follows such a diet through childhood. So in conclusion, I think the lawmakers' controversial proposal of a law being passed is very controversial. It rings full of ignorance, and I think studies should be done, or the medical literature should be consulted before any decision is made. Otherwise, the burgeoning childhood obesity problem in Italy could continue to progress unhindered without taking the advantage of the benefits of a vegan or vegetarian diet, which studies suggest is completely safe and can easily be used to avoid growth stunts in childhood. Another thing I would like to make clear is that I think the high-profile cases that the article referred to be deemed as malnourishment and not be labeled as malnourishment as a result of a vegan diet. I think that is a very controversial label to be applying to these cases, and I really think it is unnecessary, and it does ring full of ignorance and a large deal of prejudice, which I think is not something that a lawmaker should be exhibiting. So in conclusion, go vegan.